David Green fakes. Bootlegs out left. Going to run through. There's a man open. Touchdown! Big Watson caught a ball running right to left. Benjamin Watson. And so Green fakes it. And we're going to go long. Man wide open. Touchdown in the corner. Green takes it. Comes back. Throws down the middle. A man wide open. And we are going to get a touchdown. Stafford looks, and he's going to throw to Martrez Miller, who caught it. Stafford fakes. There's a man open. Touchdown in the end zone to Martrez Miller. And we're going to run a long pass, and it's complete on the 12-yard line. We got a receiver down on the 2. Stafford going to take it. Got time. Looks. Good. Back of the end zone. Martrez Miller high in the air and hung on.
Play action fake to Marino. Throw it wide open, and it is caught. Aaron White. Touchdown on the far sideline as he scoots into the corner of the end zone.
I'm John Lilly, tight end coach at the University of Georgia, and we're going to explain our day-to-day progression of our teaching drills in the tight end segment. All right, our first drill will be to get in a stance and then a takeoff drill from that stance. Our general stance is going to be a right hand or left hand stance depending on which side of the ball we're on. We do that just for ease of movement, and it does sometimes take a little bit of time to get comfortable with. But here you can see in the right hand stance, as we work there, we want our feet about shoulder width apart. We want to be as comfortable as possible but as efficient as possible. We want a toe to instep relationship there in our stance. So whichever hand is going to go down, we want that foot to be back slightly. In this case, a right hand stance, so our right toe will be about even with our left instep. Then as we get some flexion in our ankles and through our knees and into our hips, basically can just drop down and rest our elbows, our forearms just above our knees. From that point, just drop our right hand down. Again, if our right foot is back, we want our right hand down. If our left foot is back, we want our left hand down. We want to lift our hips just slightly so that our back flattens out. We want to be able to keep our eyes up and then take our free hand and just keep it comfortable there, but usually in a relatively up position so that we can get it fit on a defender pretty quickly. And we want to be as comfortable as possible. Here you see a left hand stance. And again, we want to be in a position where our weight is evenly distributed, not too much forward and not too much back on our heels, where we can come off the ball or we can work back. If we had to work backwards, setting back in pass protection, we ought to be able to kick the hand out. Once the stance is achieved, we ought to be able to kick the hand that's on the ground out and still be able to stay in our stance. We don't want too much weight on that hand. If we kick the hand out and we fall to the ground, then we've got too much weight forward. Here's a good picture of that stance, a right-handed stance. Again, the back flat. Good job of raising his hips right here, keeping his eyes up, and that off hand is up and in a ready position to strike a defender. Now for our takeoffs, we're really just getting used to moving out of the right or left hand stance with our right foot first or our left foot first. We don't want to take long steps here. Again, it's going to be short, quick steps, about 6-inch steps that we're taking. Again, out of the right-hand stance, being able to step with the left foot as well, which is a little bit more awkward usually. Practicing getting our mental weight on the foot that we want to push off with. Here, stepping with the left foot first out of a right-hand stance, so our mental weight on the right foot. In short steps, and we want to concentrate on these takeoffs. You can do these under chutes or pins if you have those available. But we want to concentrate on keeping good knee bend, keeping our hips down, our pads square, our pads low, and our eyes up. Next drill, when we get on the angle boards, again, we're trying to make sure that we can maintain our base. In other words, the distance between our feet. We had a good base in our stance, about feet shoulder width apart, and now to keep a good power base as we're preparing to block a defender. So we put a board in between here, again, that will force us, again, to make sure we take the steps outside the board so we can maintain that power base. Again, this drill can be done under pins or chutes as well if they're available. And it's essentially very similar to what we were trying to accomplish with the takeoff, but now working at an angle and trying to make sure that we maintain our base with that board in between, not stepping on the board. And the block that we're really demonstrating here, and you like to keep things as realistic as possible to try to make it a drill that they can see a play and that they realize the carryover. If we were working a power play where they had a one-on-one block and the defender maybe is head up to slightly inside of them, is just a 6-inch step inside and up. And again, we don't want to take long steps because we assume the defender is going to be penetrating or moving as well. We want to be able to get 2 steps on the ground before contact, and that will carry over into further drills. We want to be able to do this from the right side and the left side. And then we'll work at an angle. We'd work if we were blocking a defender that was lined up to our outside, for instance here, on the right side of the formation in a right-hand stance. If we were blocking a defender that was lined up to our outside on a power play, on a zone play, for instance, and being able to take that same footwork and maintain our base. Right here, we do want to open up our hips at this point and still maintain our power base, stay in our hips as we work vertically. And our toe is really on the edge of the board, so that it forces us to open our hips up with that first step. And concentrate on minimizing the distance of the footwork and keeping our pad level low. Work the same drills to the left side. So again, we can master the movements to both sides, because most of the time you want to be able to run everything to the right side and the left side, depending on a right-handed or left-handed person, whichever their dominant hand is. Sometimes they will find it easier to do it one way or the other. The drag and strip is part of a ball security circuit that we can do. And here we're trying really to work on offensive and defensive fundamentals, even though tight end is an offensive position. Certainly, first of all, is the offense. We're fighting for an extra yard. We're dragging a defender. We want the extra man, the partner, to get a wide base behind the ball carrier and to get a good grip of his hands around his waist. He wants to apply pressure, try to pull against the momentum of the ball carrier. Now, as that's happening, we want to make sure that we've got the ball secured at all the major pressure points. Pressure points are to make sure that we've got a good claw over the front end or front tip of the ball. The front tip's not exposed. We don't want to have a finger covering that front tip of the ball, so that if a helmet did happen to hit that finger, it wouldn't break the finger, and just the impact of it then would cause us to drop the ball. So the tip will be between 2 fingers there at the front. Then we want tight pressure on the forearm, up against the bicep and into the rib cage as we pump with the ball. Now here on the defender's side of it, we would like to, as we come to strip right here, we'd like to get our in this case, the left hand over the free arm of the ball carrier. All right, so that he can't bring that hand over and get a second hand over the ball, and then we want to try to strip it out. I mentioned it was an offensive and a defensive drill because anytime there's a turnover, we go to make the tackle, we want to try to get that ball out as we're making a tackle if the opportunity presents itself. So again, keep the ball tight. We want to switch hands as we go from one end to the other. Work this drill as far as you want to, but about a 10-yard area is plenty for what we want to accomplish. Again, dragging a defender, fighting for the extra yard, good forward body lean, but not losing your ball security. Shouldn't be able to see that ball through this back end right here. And the man who's trying to strip should try to grab that free arm and then pull the ball away so the offensive player can't get it. Good picture right here of trying to grab the free arm. The offensive player is trying to pull it over there to cover the ball with that other hand when he knows the strip's coming, when he's definitely going to be tackled or caught from behind. Again, apply pressure to make it harder for the offensive player to drag, because usually the harder they got to fight to drag, the more careless they can become with the ball. All right, our first just receiving drill is going to be the catch and score. A lot of fundamentals involved here, and you could build this in with any route that you had in your package. Here, this is just a very simple arrow route where we're working to the flat 2 to 3 yards deep. Our eyes around on the third step. We want to concentrate on the catch. We're not really trying to make it a difficult catch, but concentrate, look the ball in. Ball is not caught until it is tucked. We're still practicing the same ball security we just used as far as the 4 pressure points. And then this is a case where to catch this ball and score, the ideal scenario is that you catch it and just turn it up the sideline. We want to dip through the defenders and through the dummies. Right here, dip our shoulders and rip through the dummies to go score. Always practicing. Whenever we do a drill where we're catching the football, we want to get a burst to go score. We want to always look the ball in. Still practicing the same fundamentals, even though we're running with the ball. We know there's dummies there waiting to make contact. We want to practice the same fundamentals of catching the ball and looking it in and getting it secure that we would in any other drill. Now, the second part of this, and a part that you can use really with several routes, is to catch it in a stationary position, and then instead of beating defenders that are coming from an angle, beating them on the edge, we want to split defenders. All right, in this case, this is the same route, trying to look at a scenario where we catch it against a soft 2-deep corner. Corner breaks back up from the outside. There's a linebacker coming from the inside, and we want to square up and split those 2 defenders. Obviously, any route can work on this, just depending on making it as realistic as possible to the way the route would work. We want to square our pads here. When we've got defenders coming from both sides, we want to secure the ball. We're not necessarily trying to get the ball in one arm or the other, because normally we would say to get it in the opposite arm from where the defenders are coming, like we did when we were going up the sideline. Here we want to protect the ball, 2 hands in the thicket of the defenders, burst through, get our pads square and get them low, burst through the defenders and come out the other end. Make sure that we cover the ball effectively. Here again, you can see we want to always try to get the ball when the defenders are all coming from one side, which they would be if we can catch this on the run, all coming from our inside. We want to get the ball on the outside arm so that we can use the inside arm to fend them off with a stiff arm and to keep the ball as far away from defenders being able to potentially strip it as possible. All right, day 2, we could work into a combination of some of those early drills and then add on some of these fundamentals with them. In the fit drill, it's kind of a 3-phase drill where we're really focusing on the fundamentals of fitting on a defender. We want to start just by being in a hitting position, again with a good base, with our feet. We want our hips down, our eyes up. We're going to just put our pads square in this case, and we want to work on punching the defender. We want to work on a short punch. We don't want to cock our hands. We don't want to reach way back, because it's all going to be dependent upon who's going to win in a one-on-one situation. It's usually going to be the man with the quickest hands, the man who gets his hands inside. The spot that we're shooting for here is inside the framework of the defender, about on his breastplate, with our thumbs up, trying to get a good shot in there and a good solid punch. It's a very short punch. May have to get the defender very close, because we don't want to practice getting overextended right here. It's just a short punch and a violent punch, and they're on the defender's chest. The next phase of this is then to practice 2 steps, our final 2 steps, and usually we're trying to get, our goal is to get 2 steps in the ground before we make contact with the defender. So we start by showing where we want our hands placed, and then we want to take the final 2 steps and basically do the same thing as far as our hands are concerned, not bringing them too far. It's kind of shooting your pistols right here. It's drawing your pistols to shoot them and punch right there in the breastplate. Again, very short steps. We don't want to overstride here, about 6 inches. Keep our base, get our feet up under us so that we've got power. Then we'll go from the stance, again, concentrating. We're not going to talk a lot about the stance at this phase, Again, we've gotten in a perfect stance. We know how to get in it in a comfortable stance. We can work this from the right-handed stance and the left-handed stance. We can work stepping with our right foot first or our left foot first, getting 2 steps in the ground and bringing that punch simultaneously there with our hat in our hands. Again, wanting to punch into that breastplate area. All right, inside zone and climb, we're just working the fundamentals of the inside zone block. Most people are going to have a variety of schemes that they're going to use. Some plays in the running game are going to be zone plays. Some are going to be man-blocked plays. A zone play, we're basically going to be responsible essentially for an area, more so even than a defender, just as the name would dictate. So we want to, again, working off the angle board drill, which we've already done. We'll put our toe on the end of the board, put a defender in the outside gap for the inside zone play, and then we're going to work at taking our aiming point, which is the play side number of that defender, and working to that aiming point. Now we'll flip the pads around right here just to show the handles on the pads. The reason that we do that, we want to keep them tight to our body so they don't move a lot, but that's about where the breastplate of the defender would be if we did not have that pad up there. So that's what we're shooting for with our hands. We don't hit it very well on one side right here, but that's the area we're shooting for. We don't want to get overextended. We want the defenders to be as sturdy and as firm as possible on this. We want to run through the block as we come off. Again, trying to get 2 steps in the ground before contact is made. Shoot our hands on the breastplate with a good angle to the defender. And aiming point is the play side number, and run through the block. Now here, just the concept of the inside zone, when a defender moves through our zone, is carrying up. We may punch through that defender, but we're assuming right here, and you can do this drill even with in combination with an offensive lineman, with an offensive tackle, is working with them on a combo block right here, where you two are responsible for the 2 defenders. Here, just for the sake of reps, we usually let 2 guys go at once. But we're climbing up when that defender disappears, and we want to practice not chasing back to the initial defender, but staying into our zone and climbing into the defender that comes in that area. Someone will show up. Then being able to explode through that block, need a little bit more explosion and punch right here through the block, instead of just feeling and reaching right here. Run through the block at the next level. Keeping our base, same footwork. The strip and punch is another form in the ball security circuit. We saw the drag and strip, where we had a defender dragging us behind, and the strip was coming from behind. This is more from the side now. You end up with the ball really in the wrong arm towards a defender. You can't fend them off, so it's how firm can you keep it with those 4 pressure points, keeping it high and tight to the rib cage right here, just above the rib cage, and tight to your bicep and forearm with the claw over the front. The defender in this case can try to rip at it, punch it through if he can get a hand through the back part right there, if there's a little window that shows up just inside the elbow and between the elbow and the rib cage, or to try to pull it out if he can get there on the front end of it. Again, working about a 10 to 15 yard area, or you can work as far as all the way across the field. We want to switch hands with this drill, working with the ball in the right arm and with the ball in the left arm. Bad ball drill is for any ball that's not thrown right within your framework. Again, it's to concentrate on the fundamentals of catching the ball, catching it as much with your eyes as with your hands. Now, within the bad ball drill, what we're trying to focus on is catching any ball, again, that's not in the framework. It could be a little bit high, could be way out in front, could be way behind, could be low within your route. Sometimes this is a good warm-up drill. We would use it just within the focus of, again, getting into a little bit of a receiving mode. We want to focus on the ball with our eyes. So on the high ball right here, our eyes should be exaggerated to focus on the ball. If you're throwing this ball, then you should see the bottom of the chin of the receiver. If he's got a goatee, you ought to see his goatee hanging down there. Make sure and exaggerate our eyes. Eyes ought to go up. to catch the ball. Any ball that's high, we want our thumbs in to catch it. Any ball that's low, we want our thumbs out generally to catch it. Any ball that's below the waist, thumbs out. Above the waist, thumbs in. Good example with the low ball. Again, thumbs should be out right here. You may have to gear down a little bit to make this catch. As you run through it, your eyes ought to exaggerate down to see the ball into your hands. Concentrate on the X on the end of the ball and on the little grains of the ball. If you look at it that close, there's no way you can drop it. But again, catching it as much with our eyes as we do with our hands. Thumbs out, try to run through the catch. Ball behind, we don't ever want to just reach one hand back. If we reach one hand back, a lot of times that's going to create a tipped ball, which normally where the tight end is going to operate, it's going to be in the confines in the middle of the field quite often. There'll be linebackers, there'll be safeties hanging around there. Any tipped ball is probably going to be disastrous. So we want to get both hands back. So it means we got to snap our eyes back to see the ball. Ball is high right here, so we want our thumbs in. As our eyes come back, we really snap that opposite hand, in this case the right hand back. It's going to bring our shoulders back. It's going to give us a better chance to make a play on the ball. All right, as we move to day 3, again, progressing and building on the drills that we've already done. All right, we've seen the drills of just good footwork. We've done the drill of being able to fit our hands in the right spot. Now we want to do a drill if we miss with those hands just a little bit, of being able to refit our hands on a defender. So here we're going to partner up, and on the whistle, we're going to have an offensive player, one designated as an offensive player who has his hands fit inside. Now really, at this stage, you're working on the fundamentals of running your feet through the block. We don't want a false step here. We want to step forward through the block. But the defender, the higher player who has his hands outside or on the shoulders, we want them to turn into the offensive player. And we want them thinking with the mentality they missed with their hands are too high, their hands are outside, maybe their pads are a little high. They've got to get refit quickly. Dip, refit. We got to drop our hips. We've got to punch our hands, get his hands off of us right here. Sometimes even to the point you've got to rip through those hands inside and separate those hands that are on you already, and then punch and refit your hands inside on the breastplate. We got to get lower. Got to dip our hips to punch through the defender. Going to get him on his heels as we refit. Can switch each time on a whistle. Work as many repetitions or revolutions there as you need to get out of the drill what we need to get out. All right, with the harassment drill, it's just the next phase in our ball security circuit, which we had seen the drag and strip, we'd seen the strip and punch. Now we're working on ball security within a route or within making a catch while you're being harassed by a defender. Again, this harassment could be a hand in your face. It could be somebody just hitting your body as the ball is about there. It could be somebody pulling at an arm. You know, at the University of Georgia has been called Tight End University because of the success of the tight ends here. We want to go, and you saw it in the bad ball drill in day 2. We don't want to just make the ordinary catch. We want to make the extraordinary catch. This is one phase to doing it with a defender draped all over you or things that are happening around you, being able to focus and still be able to make the catch. Focusing on the ball and always bring it to the tucked position each time. And we'll do this with just a straight on look, and we can do it turn to the right or to the left. Again, with the defender on your hip, trying to pull at you, trying to just do anything they can to harass you as the ball gets there. Again, we may even try to pull the front arm. Sometimes you got to rip that back out and make a play because, again, the places where you operate at the tight end position, there's going to be a lot of traffic around, usually in the middle of the field. You've got to be able to work through some of that. In the short swim and rip, we're working releases here because, again, most of the time, defenders are not going to make it easy for you to get off the line. You're in normally a very confined space at the line of scrimmage. Here with the short swim, we're trying to work on a jab release where we jab outside first and widen the defender. Again, most defenders here, looking at like we've got a linebacker on us in an under front or a 5-man front, most defenders are going to be responsible for contain in this type of front. So we want to challenge their responsibility with a quick outside step and make them widen slightly. Then we want to make contact with them, usually from about the middle of their forearm down to their hand, because that's where they can grab you. If we get too high up, even to the elbow, they can still get that hand in and grab right there at the line of scrimmage as you're trying to get out. Then with the short swim, we do not want a long looping swim that exposes our chest area where they could punch us in the chest or get into our numbers. What we want is a short swim. It's kind of like a short punch, just right over the inside hand of the defender. As we do that, we then are in a position with that inside hand to bring it down if we need to. If he still gets that hand in there, maybe we knock the hand away, but he's coming with the opposite hand or tries to refit that hand inside. When we come with that short swim, now we can just drop it down and karate chop essentially that hand inside, so that now their hips are closed, they're turned, and we're ready to work vertically up the field. The jab release also allows, if there's a defensive lineman in the gap or maybe on our inside shoulder, right there, allows him to move and creates an open space for us to work up the field. Now, our only real move outside right here is with that outside foot. The inside foot may move slightly outside. We may even work 2 steps outside sometimes on this release, and then we want to push vertical. We don't want to hit too high up on this pad, again, because we want to be about the middle of the forearm to the wrist there to knock that hand off. With the short rip, it's the same thing. Want to widen them first, be ready to step up the field, and now we're just going to rip up through the inside there again. If they do happen to get that arm back down on us, now we're going to knock it up rather than coming down on it. Burst through our release. We don't want to stay too wide. We want to get back vertical right here and then work into whatever our route is. The rapid fire gauntlet. We need 7 footballs for this drill. We're going to work the entire width of the field. We'll have throwers at various points. And here, starting with a thrower on the back half. On the thrower's command of turn, the tight end's going to spin around. We'd like to see him get all the way around right here, catch the ball, and immediately dispose of it. We're not looking to tuck any of these balls. We don't want to get in a bad habit, but we're looking more for quickness and being able to pick up the ball quickly, being aware. So we're going to catch there, turn quickly again around 180 degrees, catch another ball, and then work across the field. We'll have 5 balls thrown. You can build a lot of different things into this. We'd like to throw the balls more accurately the first time through. And again, we're just going to catch these, work on the fundamentals of looking the ball in. And the last one's the only one that we'll tuck, because we want to catch them and discard them very quickly. We want to do this at as rapid a speed as possible across the field. And you can build in the bad ball drill on this and throw the ball high, throw it behind, throw it low, make them work on the fundamentals of all of those catches. But we want it happening very quickly. We want to try to stay on this line. That's why we run it on a line. Stay on that same plane throughout the duration of the drill. Stay a little bit lower, bent knees in a good football position. Burst across the field to make the catches. All right, as we move into day 4, again, now building on the fundamentals that we've developed, and we can pick up any of those fundamentals that we may need a little bit of extra work on here to prepare for these drills. But now working a little bit more, we worked on the zone block with the zone and climb drill. Now we're going to work more on some man blocks here first on a power combo. All right, on the power, the general power play, the 2-back power play, working a combo that oftentimes you're doing a drill with an offensive tackle. because you're working a combo block where you are responsible, you and the offensive tackle are responsible for a down lineman to a linebacker. There may be a couple different angles that you would work at. The linebacker almost stacked in a position behind that defensive lineman, and with a linebacker on the back side of the play. And we want to work here with our four hands on the defender. We're going to go ahead and get in a fit position on the defensive lineman. Our four hands are on him. Our four eyes really are on the linebacker, because we want to be able to react if he goes over the top. If he goes over the top of the block here on the right-hand side, then the tight end, who the tight end designated right here, is on the right. The tackle, what we would assume is the tackle, is on the left here in this drill. We want to step together and ideally step forward. Again, no false steps here. We don't want to step back on this drill. We're into a double team. If the linebacker stays inside, then the tight end ought to be in position to knock the tackle off. The tackle comes off and the tight end takes over the defensive lineman. If the linebacker comes over the top, the tackle should be able to knock him off. The tight end will come off onto the linebacker. Like you see in the drill on the left here, that's the linebacker coming over the top, and the tackle would then be able to stay on the defensive lineman. It's always most important to handle the defensive lineman first on this, not for both defenders to climb up. We do not want to get split on this drill, so we want to step first to our inside foot right there and climb and knock that defender up, so that then we can come off, be it inside or outside, on the second level player. On the reach drill, there's a couple of different things we'll do with this, but it's any sweep play. If we were trying to reach or hook a defender to our outside, our first step, we want to open our hips up. We want our aiming point to be the outside armpit now of this defender. We'd like for our toe of our outside foot to point a foot outside of that defender, because we do want to stretch him on this play. If we cannot reach him, if we can't maintain our position in that outside armpit and see daylight to the outside, we want to continue to run our feet and widen him and get him to work to the sideline where we can get a gap-free inside for the ball carrier to turn into. Again, assuming this defender has a contained responsibility. Because this is a man block, we don't want to cross over immediately on this block. We want our second step to step really right down the middle of him through his crotch. Get our hands fit inside. And then if he widens, we can't get daylight on the outside. We want to get strong with our inside arm and take him to the sideline. And the defender on this drill is just as important as the offensive player, because he's got to dictate how the block goes. He can't just stand there. We want him to widen some. If we want to show that we're unable to quite get him hooked and we want to take him to the sideline, or we want him to allow himself to get reached gradually, like in this picture. Again, we ought to use the same footwork. Second step is down the crotch. This time we see daylight outside. We can get him hooked, get strong with that outside arm. So you're pulling with the inside arm. If you get your hand fit inside, you're pushing with the outside arm to get his pads turned. Good angle right here, the same block. Again, you can see the initial alignment. The first step that opens up our hips is our aiming point, is that outside armpit. We're going to get our toe 1 foot outside, the outside foot of the defender. We're going to step down his crotch with a second step. If we can't get him reached, we want to take him to the sideline. If we do get him reached right here, again, keep that hat through his face mask, run your feet aggressively, lock out that outside arm. We don't want to be too quick to just throw our hips outside, because a penetrator will get up the field on us then. We may get outside of him, but he's going to penetrate and bottle the play up. Now, the other phase of this block is if we get a defender in a position where we want to do a twist scheme here, we'll have that defensive end inside, and here really just practicing the first 2 steps of that. A 6-inch step in and up to cut off penetration. Then we're going to drive up the field with our second step with our outside foot and punch with our outside hand. We'd like to finish this drill with our hat on the outside. We don't want to get across the defender as he penetrates so that he can spin back or slide back outside across our face. And we want to finish this drill by running our feet if we were doing more than really the first 2 steps. The spot blaster is, again, a little bit of a ball security drill here with catching fundamentals involved. Make this as long as you want it to be, again, depending on how many bodies you've got. Good job at being fundamental in the route still, not forgetting what we're trying to do in the route, and always trying to make the drills as realistic to possible as a game situation so that we understand how it applies, why we're doing it. We're not just doing it to do a drill, we're doing it to improve upon a skill that's going to help us in the game. All right, extension of the bad ball drill is just working, again, another route. Instead of a crossing route, working a vertical route, being able to catch the high ball, again, exaggerating our eyes so we see the bottom of our chin, get our thumbs in, run through the catch. Still want to get the ball secured. Ball that's slightly behind, maybe slightly low, get our thumbs out to make the catch. Ball that's behind on a vertical route, we don't want to just run off and reach one hand back. We want to practice the fundamentals of gearing down just a little bit, getting our eyes back, getting our shoulders back to get our hands through and make the catch. We can work it both ways. They'll have an opportunity to catch vertical routes going either way from the left side or from the right side. You can do this into the sideline. You can really do any route or route area that you have and create a bad ball drill, or a drill basically to catch balls that are away from the general framework of our body. That's our 4 days of drills that we found to be very useful in teaching our tight ends here at the University of Georgia the essential fundamentals in the running and passing game for the plays and the skills that they're going to be able to need to execute to play at the highest level in the Southeastern Conference.